Teachers mock black boy with a violin, they freeze when he starts playing like a prodigy. The auditorium buzzed with restless energy, a sea of students shifting in their seats, their whispers like static in the air. At the center of it all stood Malik Carter, 16, his hands trembling as he clutched his violin. The stage lights bore down, hot and unyielding, but it was the eyes of his teachers, Ms. Hargrove, Mr. Daniels, and Mrs. Ellison, that burned the most. Their smirks were sharp, their murmurs barely concealed. A violin? Ms. Hargrove had scoffed earlier, loud enough for Malik to hear. That's not for kids like him. Malik wasn't naive. He knew what kids like him meant. Growing up black in a small, mostly white town, he'd heard it all, slurs muttered under breath, assumptions about what he could or couldn't do. But the violin? That was his sanctuary. His late grandfather, a jazz musician, had gifted him the instrument when he was 6, teaching him to pour his soul into every note. "They'll try to box you in, son," Grandpa had said. "Let the music break you out." Today was the school's talent showcase, a chance for students to shine. Malik had practiced for months, his fingers calloused, his heart set on proving himself. But as he stepped onto the stage, the teacher's mockery cut deeper than he'd expected. Mr. Daniels leaned toward Mrs. Ellison, whispering, "Bet he's just here for diversity points." The audience tittered, a few students joining the laughter, emboldened by the adults' disdain. Malik's chest tightened, his breath shallow. He wanted to run, to disappear. But then he saw his mother in the back row, her face a beacon of quiet strength, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. He raised his bow, the wood smooth against his palm, and closed his eyes. The first note rang out clear, haunting, a cry from somewhere deep within. The auditorium fell silent, the teacher's smirks faltering. Malik played Vivaldi's Winter, his fingers dancing across the strings with a precision that defied their expectations. Each note was a defiance, a rebuttal to every stereotype they'd pinned on him. The music swelled, fierce and unrelenting, filling the room with a storm of sound that seemed to shake the walls. Halfway through, something shifted. A soft hum joined his melody, faint at first, then unmistakable. Malik's eyes snapped open, scanning the crowd. In the third row, a girl he barely knew, Lila, a quiet sophomore with a reputation for keeping to herself, had begun to sing. Her voice was raw, untrained, but it wove seamlessly into his music, adding a layer of warmth he hadn't anticipated. She wasn't black, wasn't part of his world, but her eyes met his, steady and resolute, as if to say, "I see you." The unexpected harmony caught everyone off guard, even the teachers, who exchanged uneasy glances. Lila's voice was a twist in the narrative, a small act of rebellion that amplified Malik's stand. The performance ended with a final, piercing note that lingered in the air. For a moment, no one moved. Then the auditorium erupted in applause, students leaping to their feet, their cheers drowning out the teacher's stunned silence. Malik lowered his violin, his heart pounding, tears prickling his eyes. Lila stood too, her face flushed but defiant, ignoring the stares around her. Miss Hargrove's mouth opened, then closed, her earlier confidence gone. Mr. Daniels shifted uncomfortably, avoiding Malik's gaze. Mrs. Ellison, though, didn't clap. Her lips pressed into a thin line, her eyes cold with something Malik couldn't quite name, resentment, perhaps, or shame. Backstage, Malik's mother enveloped him in a hug, her voice thick with pride. "You showed them, baby. You showed them all." Lila approached hesitantly, her hands shoved in her pockets. "I didn't plan to sing," she mumbled. "It just felt right." Malik nodded, grateful but too overwhelmed to find the words. Later, He'd learn Lila's story, her own struggles with being ostracized for her love of poetry, her quiet anger at the teacher's cruelty. In that moment, though, their shared defiance was enough. The fallout came swiftly. Videos of Malik's performance, captured by students' phones, spread online, sparking outrage. Parents demanded accountability, accusing the teachers of racial bias. The school board launched an investigation, and within days, Ms. Hargrove and Mr. Daniels issued public apologies, their words stiff and rehearsed. Mrs. Ellison, however, doubled down, claiming she'd done nothing wrong, that Malik's talent didn't erase the disrespect of his attitude. Her refusal to back down only fueled the fire, turning the incident into a local scandal. Malik didn't revel in the chaos. The attention was exhausting, the hate mail and online trolls a bitter reminder of how far his town had to go. But there were bright spots too. A music professor from a nearby college reached out, offering him a scholarship to study violin. Students he'd never spoken to before stopped him in the halls, sharing stories of their own encounters with prejudice. Lila became an unlikely friend, their bond forged in that fleeting moment on stage. One evening, weeks later, Malik sat on his porch, his violin resting on his lap. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson. He thought of his grandfather, of the teachers' frozen faces, of Lila's voice cutting through the silence. He'd won, in a way, but the victory felt fragile. Racism didn't vanish with a single performance, and he knew he'd face it again. Yet he also knew he wasn't alone. Lila's unexpected support, his mother's unwavering love, the cheers of his peers, they were proof that change, however small, was possible. He lifted his violin and played, not for an audience, but for himself. The notes were soft, hopeful, a promise to keep going. As the music drifted into the night, he felt his grandfather's words echo within him. Let the music break you out. And it had. It was. What do you think? Can one moment of courage shift a community's perspective? Or is the fight against prejudice too deep-rooted for that? Share your thoughts.